Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This video is my entry for the 2018 NYX Face Awards. So if you're curious about how this magical lunar creature was created, just keep watching. I started by applying silicone adhesive, and then made sure to powder my ear. In doing this, I'm able to play with the position of the ear, and then reactivate the glue when I'm happy with the position. I created these silicone ears specifically for this character. I thought it would be fun to play with the crescent moon shape. Then I covered the pieces in Pros-Aide. This will help the makeup stick for later. While the ears dried, I went ahead and glued my eyebrows down. Now that everything's dry, I go ahead and apply some translucent powder so there's no stickiness. Now for the fun part. I started with NYX Total Control drops in Pale. I'm using a fluffy synthetic brush to give me a nice even coverage. Once my skin and prosthetics are fully covered, I go ahead and powder and set that makeup. Then I go in and I spatter some water-activated white body paint. Now taking those same pale control drops, I mixed in the color Henna. With this mixture, I start creating an exaggerated contour. So making sure to hit under my jawline and the tops of my shoulders. Also taking that color and defining the deep parts of the ears. Now taking eyeshadow and electric, I follow the same paths I did with the previous color. I'm not bringing it as far into the center of my face because I want to have a soft transition between all the colors. I'm also applying this eyeshadow wet. This way it leaves a little bit of texture on the skin. I follow that up with the deeper blue tone in Electroshock. Again, I apply this wet for some extra pigment. I still want to create the soft transition between all the other colors I've laid down, but I also want to create more of a contour with this color. And because I love texture, I took that same eyeshadow with a little extra water and spattered it in the same areas that I just went through. With the Ultimate Brights palette, I took this pinky purple color number 6. With a wet brush, I'm applying it in a V shape on my forehead, using a kind of stippling motion to leave some texture. With a fluffier brush, I'm doing the same thing to the hollows of my cheeks, the ends of my ears, and around the collarbone area. Then I spatter that eyeshadow in the same areas that I just applied. Now taking NYX Jumbo Pencil in Milk, I create a pointed inner eye shape and color in my waterline. Because this character is more of a creature, I started to play with my anatomy a little bit. Now to give all these new shapes some dimension, I take the dark blue eyeshadow Electroshock and start creating shadows. I took a larger brush to softly blend out the blue to give it a more 3D look. And back with the number 6 from the Ultimate Brights palette, I start placing it in the inner corner of my eyes and then blending it into the blue, creating a nice deep purple. And I softly blend it with all the other areas that I shaded with that blue color. I grabbed that light blue electric color from the very beginning to help soften the transitions of all the colors. With the purple color number 5 from the Ultimate Brights palette, I go and deepen the areas of the pinkier purple. Also shading the outer corners of my mouth and my lower lip. With NYX Cream Color and Blueprint, I start creating different size spots. I keep them in the outer parts of my face. I also add some in the inner parts of my ears. With Vivid Violet and Liquid Liner, I go through the same areas, but making smaller dots this time. I also want to punch up those strange facial structures. By darkening these areas, it creates the illusion that the lighter areas are more raised. At this point, I wanted to create more texture, so I grabbed an alcohol-activated paint. With this bright pink color, I'm creating little squiggling lines all in the areas where I already have that pinky purple. Then I spatter that makeup in the same areas that I just went over. I also grabbed a dark purple alcohol color and spattered that in the darker parts of the makeup. Now with the torn sponge, I take that purple and go over those same areas. This time also coloring more of my neck because I wanted my neck to be a darker shade. I use a brush to color in my ears so I have a little more control than I would have with that sponge. And I also clean up the edge of the purple on my jawline. On a fan brush, I take NYX Pale Control Drops and lightly rake it on the high points of the ears. I grab that dark purple alcohol color one last time. With it, I start creating interesting spots going down the neck, getting smaller as they get closer to my chest. Also added a few on my forehead and my temple areas. I went and punched up my cheekbones with that trusty pale foundation. Now for some highlighter fun with the way we glow. I'm using the color Moon Glow, and yes, I totally bought this color because it was perfect for my character theme. Despite my urge to just lather myself in this color, I kept it just to the high points of the face and all that weird bone structure that I was trying to create. And I even added some to my eyelid, starting from the inner part and only going about halfway on the lid. With white alcohol activated paint, I took an orange stipple sponge and lightly pressed it on my skin in the bright areas. I was trying to go for a little bit of a starry effect, bringing that same effect onto the high points of my collarbones. Grabbing that dark blue NYX eyeshadow again with a wet brush to add some color down the sides of my arms, the tops of my shoulders, and along my jawline. With that bright pink alcohol paint, I decided to go in and just add a little more shading around my collarbones. Taking that light blue NYX eyeshadow in Electric, I used a dry brush this time. I was looking to create a soft transition from the colors. Followed it up with spattering a light blue alcohol color. With that Blueprint cream color, I made sure to add some spots on my shoulders so it tied in with my face. So now with that trusty number 5 purple in the Ultimate Brights palette, we're going to create some crater freckles. I'm not coloring them in completely with this color because we're going to go in with the lighter purple to give it a little more dimension. Back to the NYX Ultimate Bright palette, this time grabbing number 8. I used this light purple color to shade in the craters because I didn't want them to look too deep. Using the NYX Loose Pigment Henna, I create deeper shading but still keeping it soft and blended. I also created a soft smoky wing. I take that same color and I'm shading in little areas around the freckles. To increase the 3D effect, I took Lid Lingerie Matte and Bad to the Bone on a very fine detail brush, and I'm just going around the edges of the craters and just creating little hot spots of highlights. I'm taking that same white and highlighting my cupid's bow and upper lip. I also bring it down and highlight the bottom of my lower lip. I also added some larger white dots on my forehead. Added more highlighter and Moon Glow on my upper lip and the high points of my shoulders and my neck. Even add a touch on my chin. With the henna pigment, I just wanted to add a little more dimension to the hollows of my collarbones and my neck. I'm also adding some shading onto my chest so that the next step will read better. So in many images of the moon, in the lower half, you'll notice a kind of a starburst crater, and that was the inspiration for this part. Using the jumbo eye pencil in Milk, I start creating striations across my chest. The center of the crater disappeared a little bit, so I grabbed the henna color to shade that back in. Grabbing a thin brush and that white Lid Lingerie color, I just start going in and making thinner, more sparse striations. And I just kept layering these thin striations for more dimension. Spattered some white body paint for a little starry effect on my chest. I put on some false lashes and my contact lenses. With colored mascara Forget Me Not, starting with the wand and then moving onto a brush to make sure I got every little hair. I then used NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil in Lavender to color in my lips. With Vivid Blossom Liquid Liner, I colored in the top portion of my lip. Then I softly blended Vivid Violet in the inner parts of my mouth. After I applied the wig, I decided I wanted to add a little more glitz. Using NYX Pigment and Diamond, I added it to the hairline and a little bit into the hair. And then we're done! Fingers crossed I make it into the top 30. No matter what the outcome, I truly hope you enjoyed my video. I had a ton of fun creating this character. And of course, like, comment, subscribe, you know, all those good things. I can't wait to show you my next creation.